welcome back to Room 237, and as I get close to the end of the Italian horror and giallo film marathon, I realized that there's an Italian horror film that I picked up a while ago and actually had not gotten to yet. That is 1989's The Church, which I know there's a newer Blu-ray by Scorpion releasing, but I found this cheap for like $10, and it's Blue Underground. Can't go wrong with that. And so before I go too far, I do want to point out that this is yet another film like Demons and Demons 2, which there's more to say about those, but also Wax Mask, which I do not have. I do need to pick that up, where Argento was involved, at least in the producing of it, and he did have a hand in the screenplay, so his name is plastered all over it. Even in the original poster, I mean, Dario Argento's name is huge, so it's often considered an Argento film. But this one is actually directed by Michele Soavi, who directed Stage Fright. He directed, he would go on to direct Wax Mask, while Demons 1 and 2 was directed by Lamberto Bava, and those are also considered Argento films. This goes in that grouping where he had a hand in the making, but he didn't direct it. And this one, it does feel more like a Michele Soavi film, just like Demons and Demons 2 feels more like a Lamberto Bava film. And so, like I said, it came out in 1989, and actually, speaking of Demons 1 and 2, this was intended to be Demons 3. It was going to be directed by Lamberto Bava again, written by him and Argento, and originally it was going to be another unleashing of the demons, but on an airplane. And while that idea sounds awesome, it could have been balls to the wall fun like the first two, that didn't happen. Now there is a Demons 3 called The Ogre, which I do believe Bava did direct, but I haven't seen that yet, and I believe there's up to 6 demons, but I think once you get up to 5 and 6, they're pretty much just Japanese films, and in name only. But as far as the production goes, I do know that some of it had already been shot. So it had already been, well, Argento would later say that The Church was never Demons 3, and it was only Bava that wanted to make Demons 3. Argento didn't want it. No one was interested. So I think Bava eventually did The Ogre by himself. But and I guess it was going to be called Return to the House of the Demons. And it was written by Franco Ferrini and Dardano Sacchetti, which involved the airplane, emergency landing, and that was going to be more like an alien type setting. I should have read all this before, but so then I do remember seeing that they had some footage shot, but oh, no, Bava left because he began working on a project for television, 88, so Soavi stepped in, and this was right after Stage Fright, and Soavi was involved in the first 2 demons. He's mostly known for the demon that comes out of the TV in part 2. So they settled on having it a church, and well, the first 2 films are really balls to the wall, just fun. They're really fun, entertaining movies at just like machine gun fire pace. This one takes more, it's more of a slow approach. It's more about atmosphere, and it is more of a slow burn. It does take a while to get to, even though I want to say anything resembling demons, even though it's not really the point, because the whole Demons 3 was scrapped. It eventually does take a Demons type. Thematically, it's similar in the third act, but it really is more about, okay, people are finding these things in this church. The more they look into it, the more they're tempting and opening the gates of hell, essentially. And then eventually possession starts, people start getting killed. And it does kind of have that From Dusk Till Dawn, kind of trapped in the setting, can't get out, with people getting killed. But this one doesn't feel as fun. It feels more serious, like, especially like if Demons and Demons 2 are like the Evil Dead films, this one is more like The Exorcist or The Omen. I don't mean in quality, but it really feels like it's taking itself very seriously. There are some very well done shots. I'll say the score I really like, even though there's multiple people. There's Keith Emerson, Goblin. In the credits, at least, there's one piece credited to Goblin. There's some Philip Glass covers. The score is well done, though, regardless of which piece it is. The performances aren't bad. We do get a young performance by Asia Argento. She's like 13 or 14 at the time. And although there are a couple scenes where people are demoned out, but it's not like the Evil Dead type demons from the Demons films. And there are some really neat ideas that go into this. Like when people are being possessed, only the ones being possessed can see it. So if someone nearby is seeing it, it just looks like someone's spazzing out and they don't see it. Or when someone is possessed, you can't see their demonic form unless it's a reflection. I thought that was a nice touch. So there are some good ideas. It's definitely not as fun as Demons or Demons 2, but I don't mind the sort of sophistication or seriousness it's taking. There are some great like wide shots of the church. There is some nice Argento-esque imagery, for example, involving how when some of the first evil comes out of the church, and the lead, Evan, played by Thomas Arena, who I've seen in Body Puzzle, which I have reviewed. He pretty much finds the seal in the gate. It's this cross in the ground, and then it falls in like this black endless void, and we see the cross sort of just fall forever, then disappear, then this blue light comes out of it. It's a nice Argento-esque type of scene and is done very well. But it does go at kind of a slower pace. I mean, it's 102 minutes. And it really is the last act that really, or the last 40 minutes or so that really has all the action or all the excitement. But, and I do have to mention the beginning, which is a medieval Germany. It takes place in Germany, which actually the interiors, there's two different churches that were used. There was the Matthias Church in Budapest and Hamburg that was used for the exteriors. And then there was one that, there's one that was bombed during World War II and just the steeple was left that's used for the ending after everything happens. But, oh, and also just seeing this, I guess Keith Emerson did do some music. He produced a 12-track demo for Argento, and it said they were terrible. It's not even a child, quote, not even a child would have written music like that. that it was too bombastic. So, wow. Huh. And he did the score for Inferno. And some of the scores in Argento films can be pretty bombastic as well. So it opens up in a medieval Germany, and this entire village is pretty much slaughtered by the Teutonic Knights because they believe there's possession and sacrilege going on. And after they've all been buried, they place this huge stone cross, lying down, sort of over where all the bodies are. And then this giant church was erected, designed to seal the evil within. And you'll find out that the architect did build this very intricate security system that I thought was pretty interesting. But so now we come up to modern day, and Thomas Arena is a new librarian who's kind of an expert in that kind of history. And so he's there to catalog all the old books. He finds it kind of boring. And that's when he finds this one woman, Barbara Cupisti, who plays Lisa. She's restoring one of the frescoes. And they've all been told by the bishop, who was actually in Slaughter Hotel, not to go down into the catacombs. But there's some jackhammer work going on down there. And at one point, Lisa goes down. She finds this little sheet sticking out of the wall. She pulls it out. Turns out it's a parchment. She shows it to Evan. He knows exactly what it is. And of course, they have their very random romance that needs to happen in every movie. But he figures out how to read it. Also, within the church, there's the bishop. There's a term that I actually had never heard. Sarkist? Why can I not find it? Pretty much, it's kind of like the security officer who's in charge of guarding all the precious materials and the grounds of the church. I was reading this earlier, and I saw it. But anyway, so he lives there with his wife, and his daughter is Asia Argento, whose name is, I think, Lata. And she has a knack for sneaking out. It shows a couple times that she finds these little trails and passages through the aqueduct. And I really gotta find that word because it's gonna drive me nuts. Just that guy's title, but oh well, I'll come to it. Sacristan, and then there's a couple other fathers, like there's Father Gus, who we find out is an amazing archer, and then Giovanni Lombardo Radice plays Reverend Dominic. Now, I've said in a few movies he's been in that he's like my favorite Italian character actor because he's been in a lot of exploitation films. He was probably the first Italian actor that I recognized going from movie to movie when I first started watching Italian films. I mean, he was in House on the Edge of the Park, City of the Living Dead, Cannibal Ferox, Stage Fright. He was in Body Puzzle. He's been in a lot of films. Oh, and what I meant to say about how the film looks during the opening in medieval Germany, it has like this haze to it. So that just mixed with the costumes, it really looks like Monty Python. It kind of has like that, like the Bring Out Your Dead scene it kind of has that haze to it, but that really only appears during like those flashbacks. There's even a scene where Father Gus, it shows him uh, doing some archery, and he sees a knight coming towards him from, from his target, and even that shot has a bit of that haze to it. But eventually, Evan he does find out that there's a stone with 7 eyes that I guess is the seal to hell. And eventually he finds it. It's down in the catacombs beneath the church. And there's that giant cross that was laid on the ground in the beginning. And the stone, which kind of looks like a goat's head with 7 eyes, is right at the intersection of the cross. He's able to separate that stone, and then that's what opens it. I mean, the cross falls, and I like how it looks, because when he looks through, it's just blackness in the shape of the cross, this bottomless black void, and we just see that cross sort of kind of fall forever. No music, and then just this blue light emanates. And then he finds this sack hanging from like the ledge of that opening, which there's some glass sticking out, which he cuts himself. But when he opens the sack, these like demonic hands grab him. And then, when it's all said and done, the cross is put back and everything seems normal. But you can tell he's possessed. He then calls Lisa from a diner. He's like all pale and messed up looking, and he rips out his own heart. There's a cool shot where it shows him holding it up, and like the sky, I thought it looked like it on the cover. The sky kind of turns red, I think, and then he like bites into it. And then he's acting very strange. He tries to assault Lisa at the church, and he acts weird towards Asia Argento, which actually, back in the catacombs, when he comes to, he hears the sacristan coming down. Well, he hears Asia come down, the sacristan looking for her. She goes through the aqueduct, and then just when the sacristan is about to find Evan, he knocks him out, which I guess passes the possession onto him. So after Evan starts acting weird towards Asia. I'm calling her that because I don't remember how to pronounce her character's name. She runs up to the sacristan, her father, to say that he's acting weird. But then, just as he's about to abuse her, saying, "I know you've been out," he's about to beat her, she sees his face in a mirror, and it's some weird, like, beaked ape kind of creature. It's effects that remind me of Baba's delirium, sort of like that eyeball face. Not that's what it looks like, but that's kind of what the effects look like. At least I think it was like a beaked ape. But even the night before, like when Evan's on the phone with Lisa before he tears his heart out, Lisa's at home and she sees this demonic figure that kind of resembles the stone with 7 eyes outside of her window. But yeah, it says ape-like demon that Asia saw, but I could have swore it almost had like a toucan type beak. And then this is when the sacristan realizes he's possessed, so he runs down to Father Gus and says, "I'm possessed. I can't let this spread." And he runs down to the catacombs and he grabs the jackhammer and he falls onto it. And so when Father Gus comes down, he sees the jackhammer just like going through the back of him, and there's like some decent gore effects on the tip of it. And then he like falls and it hits this stone just right that it rattles everything, and that's what sets off the security system to seal everything, which I thought was pretty cool. There's like this little glass thing up in the ceiling full of water, So when that breaks, it goes down in this thing, which fills up, triggers another thing, which makes sand fall out, go into this pail, this bucket. It's a whole like Rube Goldberg security system. But by this time, there's a model. Uh, I think she's a model, modeling some profound a wedding dress. There's a school teacher with a field trip full of young kids. There's an old couple and a young biker couple. They're inside the church at this point. So when that gets set off, they're all trapped in there. And this is like the last 40 minutes of the movie. And, we see people get possessed. We see people being tricked. Like at one point, the biker guy sees his girlfriend being, she's naked, being embraced by this big green gargoyle that I think was supposed to be Evan. But then when he goes around the corner where she vanished, she's, clothed and normal. There's kids turning into other kids. The teacher gets killed because she loses her glasses. And I'm guessing the kids who were possessed, take her glasses and place it in such a way so that when people take down this gate, the spiked gate that's inside, charging at the door, she's right in the way, so she gets it. It's not as crazy as, say, a room full of people outbreak in Demons. But for the build-up and waiting for something to happen, I guess it does pay off. Would I have preferred a more gory, fun, Demons-type film? Absolutely. But it does fit the tone that they were going for. We periodically do keep cutting back to the bishop, who apparently is destroying these parchments and trying to sabotage the trying to sabotage anything that's good. He wants these people to be trapped. He wants these people to be killed because he sees the world as just evil. He's kind of like a Claude Frollo type character where he thinks the people trapped within deserve it. And he wants them to perish. But we do see that the biker couple has escaped down through the catacombs, and they find this one hole that they're going to go through. So the boyfriend lowers the girlfriend down. Turns out it is a subway tunnel. And we actually see from the inside of the subway, the window, we see the dummy flatten. And I thought that was pretty cool looking. But we do see that Asia is somewhere. She gets a feeling that things aren't right. So she gets back. And pretty much her and Gus are the only good people left. At one point, Lisa, I don't know if she's in some sort of trance and needs to find Evan. So everyone that's been possessed, they're not really changed, or at least we can't see them. Because there are a couple scenes where people are being possessed and it shows some demonic thing on them, but then it shows other people looking at them and there's nothing. So when we see all these people down below pretty much having their own kind of demonic sermon, with candles everywhere, they're just kind of doing these demonic chants, but they're not really changed. And so she goes down there naked. Evan places her on the altar, then rapes her. It doesn't show much, it cuts away. But I guess to add to the horror, just as that assault is about to commence, that's when she kind of snaps out of it and realizes what's going on. Eventually, Gus does find this one room that has a parchment stuck inside, in between two parts of these stones. And when he pulls it, it's able to trigger the rest of the security system. Also, Asia sees some sort of woodcut art, someone that looks like her, possibly being from a previous life. And it turns out I think she was around back then, because she recounts, and we see a more flashback, that the architect was tortured. Um, and if they find his body, they'll find some sort of self-destruct mechanism that will destroy the entire church. And in that flashback, we see the architect. It's like this red hot coal pit, like a grate over it. He's tied to the top, and it shows him being. They torture and kill him, and because then that way the secrets die with him, because I think it implies that they don't know how the church was built with its security mechanism or anything. And so when Gus goes down to find where it is, there's like the mummified remains of the architect. And I thought this was pretty cool. It's like there's this giant heap of bodies that rise, which I thought, oh yeah, that's pretty much taken straight from Rosemary's Baby. That's Evan and Lisa on the altar. Maybe it's on the cover of the Scorpion releasing Blu-ray, but it's like this giant heap of all the dead people, but they're like covered in mud and they're still like writhing. I thought that was a nice touch. But pulls the lever, building collapses, killing everyone. But then we see that just the steeple is left erect. And then we see Ossia sneaks into, it's all fenced off, but of course it shows her sneaking in. She leaves flowers for her parents. There's a picture of her parents, but I'm guessing for everyone. But then this truck goes by and blows some dirt away, and she sees one of the eyes of the stone with 7 eyes. So she moves the dirt away, reveals the whole thing, and then it blasts itself off. And then we see from within the void, looking up, we see her face. We see it glow blue and her kind of smile. And that's the end of the movie. I thought this was a decent movie. You can definitely see the influences and references to other films. I mean, like Evan and Lisa on the Altar is a lot like Rosemary's Baby. The creature effects or demon effects was more, it reminded me more of Lamberto Bava's Delirium, which is fine because since this is not Demons 3, I am glad they went a different route, and also not making them sort of Evil Dead demons, but rather, okay, you can't see them unless, I guess, you're possessed, or, it's like a POV, or seeing what they're going through. Yeah, it's definitely a more sophisticated, dare I say realistic. That's what I meant by comparing it to Exorcist and The Omen, is that it takes a more, I guess, realistic approach rather than just fun, popcorn, and entertaining like the first 2 Demons films. I definitely liked it more than Suave Stage Fright. I was never a fan of Stage Fright. People call it a giallo. It's a fucking slasher. It's not a giallo at all. But as far as Suave goes, I like The Church more than Stage Fright. I still need to see Wax Mask. But yeah, definitely not a bad movie. I mean, it definitely looks good. It's well shot. Acting isn't too bad. It has some good ideas. The music, especially the tracks by Goblin, I really like. It does help create a Argento type atmosphere. And it does kind of have, I will say, even for the tone it's going for, the build-up is worth it. I think people will be more expecting, like, the Demons type of chaos because those movies kick right in. This one takes its time with the build up and the development of everything. With not a whole lot that happens, but there's enough, and it fits the tone. It's not inconsistent, really, but yeah, I thought the church was decent and entertaining. More of a Demons fan myself, but I still thought this worked. At some point, I will have to check out the Ogre Demons 3 just to see what Baba made out of it. But anyway, so yeah, I think this is the last Italian horror film I have, other than the rest of my Giallo films. I'll have to double check, but 1989's The Church. Thank you for watching.